Welcome to Technically Speaking, where we help you increase your income through tech. Web technologies, week 6. What you'll learn this week is how websites actually work, the difference between front end and back end, the 3 essential web languages, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and how to build and host your own simple website. Every time you visit a site like www.google.com, here's what happens. You type a URL and your browser sends a request via HTTP or HTTPS. Then the web server receives it and sends back a response. Your browser shows the web page built with HTML, the structure, CSS, the style, or JavaScript, any interactivity. The key terms to know here in this flow is HTTP and HTTPS, which is the protocol that lets browsers talk to servers. Web server, which is a computer that stores and sends websites, and browser, which we know as Chrome, Firefox, or even Safari. And this is what we use to actually view the site. Let's talk about front end versus back end. Front end is what the user sees and interact with. It's the visual stuff. This stuff is built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then we have the back end. This is the behind the scenes logic, like databases, logins, and file storage. They're built with Python, Node.js, PHP, SQL, etc. This week, we're just going to focus on the front end, and this is where everyone should kind of start. It's that front end, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, let's take a deeper look into these 3 core languages of the web. Let's start off with HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. This is the skeleton of a website. It's what gives structure to your web page. Think of it like putting up the wall, doors, and windows of a house, but without paint or decor, okay? So what HTML does is it adds headings, paragraphs, images, and buttons. It organizes content into sections like headers, footers, and nav bars. And it holds the content you see and read on a web page. Here's an example. Welcome to my portfolio. You have the header. You have P for paragraph. My name is whatever your name, and I'm learning web development. And you close out with the P. And you can add an image as well. Next, we have CSS, which is cascading style sheets. This is the style. It makes everything looks good. Now, once your HTML content is built, CSS comes in and makes it beautiful. It controls the colors, fonts, layout, if you want it like center, columns, or type of spacing, and even responsive design, like how your site looks on phones versus a desktop. Now, CSS turns that plain black and white HTML into a professional website. And it, like I said, it adds that spacing, automation, hover over effects, and so much more. Look at this example here. We have the body, and we can do a background color. Make sure you know the code of that background color. We got font family, Arial, maybe you like sans or something, and then the color. And then you can also see in the header 1, we have color and text design align, which is the center, all right? Moving on to JavaScript. JavaScript is the brain. It makes your site interactive. So JavaScript is what allows your site to respond to users, like clicking a button, submitting a form, hiding or even showing elements, and pulling in like live data, like it's weather or news. Now, JavaScript adds that movement, logic, and decision-making into your site. It can be used for the front end, like the user side, or the back end, the server side. And it really powers nearly every modern interactive web app today. Here's an example of JavaScript. We have a function that greets users. Again, you use this function over again, and it'll alert, welcome to my website. And then it'll document the query selector is the button, and it'll add an event to greet the user. Okay? Now you need all 3 of these to build real-world websites. So even just learning the basics can really open you up to a lot of internships, freelance gig, and entry-level jobs, okay? So our goal here is to build a website, to build and view a basic website using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. and understand the purpose of each file type and host the site locally or on GitHub pages. So I want you to create a folder called Web Portfolio or Web Port, and we're going to add these HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files in it. All right? All right. Bring up our VS Code that we've been using thus far. And the first thing we're going to do is build the HTML file. We're going to name it index.html. And what it does here is it's going to set up the structure and content of the web page. So we have our doc type, which we're always going to put. Our doc type is HTML. And we have our head, which is our header. No one's going to see the header, but what they will see is they'll see our body and our paragraphs and links and stuff. So you can see our header. Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm learning to build websites. And I'll say, let's add a button here to say hi. All right. Even you see the links and the script. The script is what's going to connect the CSS and JS files that we're going to create. All right. So now that we've created the HTML file, we now have to create the CSS file. All right. We're going to name that style.css. All right. So we have a body, have our font family, we have our background color, and our text is going to align. Our text alignment, and we want it centered. Again, it could be however you want, but just follow along with the pre-defaults so you can see how it all works. Okay. Now, CSS syntax is a little different from HTML, so make sure you go over to this website so you can get a little more understanding of the syntax to use for HTML and CSS. And then lastly, we're going to create our JavaScript, our JavaScript file, okay? This responds when someone clicks the button. And we said function, we already know about functions from Python. And it's gonna say hi, and it's gonna alert us with this message, thanks for visiting my website, all right? A function is just a reusable action. The alert is gonna do the pop-up message, and the HTML button, the button in the HTML file is gonna trigger this function, all right? We're gonna save it and make sure that it's in our folder, our web portfolio folder. And then all you have to do is literally go to your index, and it should already be set to go to a browser. And you right click it, click open. You should come up with a site like this. Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm learning to build websites. Click me. When you click and you see there's a pop-up. This page says, thanks for visiting my site. And I just click OK. Very, very simple. This is our first web page. This is hosted locally, but you can host it wherever. I put it in my project folder, but like I said, you can host it wherever. We're going to host it on GitHub. We went through GitHub. We're going to link by GitHub so you can see, but this is exactly what you should, the result you should get to, and how we're going to build upon on our homework. So for your homework, we're doing the same exact thing we just did in our hands-on activity. I just want you to extend it. And basically, we're just going to build your personal portfolio site. And this should include the About Me section, a list of projects you've done, and a simple contact form, even if it doesn't work, right? And you can definitely host this on GitHub pages. Like I said, I will link it all. But we're going to do exactly what we did with those same exact steps. All you're doing now is adding more HTML, adding more CSS, and adding more JavaScript to those same files. Now, if someone has foundational web technology skills like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and some basic backend or deployment knowledge, here are the top 5 career paths they can pursue. 1, front-end web developer, which builds the parts of websites users see and interact with. The core skills is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, or even Vue.js. The job titles here would fall under front-end developer, web developer, or even junior software engineer. Definitely remote friendly, and that salary is going to start you off at $65,000 a year. 2, we have web designer or UI developer, which focuses more on visual design and layout more than programming. They still have HTML and CSS skills and a basic JavaScript, but they'll add in some Canva, Figma, and even Webflow. The basics, the salary range here is $55,000 to $95,000 or above. It's easy to freelance this or offer services to small businesses. 3, full stack developer. This works both on front end and back end. So it's the whole stack. Okay. So your core skills is going to be that HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You're going to add in Node.js with some Express, some MongoDB, Firebase, or even just SQL, and then add all that to GitHub plus API usage. The salary will definitely start you off at 70K a year and could go all the way up to 120K a year. 4, a no-code or low-code web builder, which you'll use platforms like Webflow, Wix, or Squarespace to build fast websites for clients. You'll still have understanding of HTML and CSS. You'll still have understanding of HTML and CSS, but you'll also know basic SEO and hosting and client communication. The salary can start you off at 50K and go all the way above 85K a year. Again, this is great for freelancing or starting a service business. Last, we have technical content creator or developer advocate. These people basically teach or create content about web tech. So it can be written, video, or just code examples. Some job titles here would be technical writer, developer advocate, or coding instructor. Their salary is going to start them off at 60K, but can definitely go into the six-figure realm. And it's really ideal for those who love helping others and storytelling. So some advice, if you love visuals, and want fast wins, start with front end or web design. If you want more of a challenge plus higher pay later on, I would say aim for full stack. And if you want to freelance fast, I would say go to no code web design route where you're building Squarespace and Wix for clients. And if you just love helping others, I would say go into teaching roles like technical writer or creating content. Next steps after this lesson is for you to rebuild and improve your portfolio site. Make sure you add more sections like skills, projects, blog, contacts, and create a clean layout using HTML and CSS. And use real photos, links, and icons. And make it mobile friendly with a responsive design, right? This is to help improve your portfolio. 2, practice with beginner-friendly web challenges. Use these platforms like Free Code Camp, Front End Mentor, or CodePen to practice on real-world UI challenges. 3, upload your work to GitHub. Create a repo, upload your HTML, your CSS, and your JavaScript, and then write a clear readme.md explaining that project. Push your GitHub and post it on, and push to GitHub and host it with GitHub pages. This is your first official portfolio project. We did it here in class. 4, you're going to expand your web toolkit. Start learning Flexbox and grid layout systems for CSS, responsive design for media queries, JavaScript DOM manipulation, maybe even forms, input fields, buttons, validations, or even how to Google or use Stack Overflow effectively. Start applying what you've learned. Project ideas to try next would be a personal blog site, resume site, landing page for a product or service, or a digital business card site. Each of these is portfolio gold. And lastly, just share your progress. Post your site link in Discord, share with screenshots, plus a link maybe on your LinkedIn. Tell a story that you built this from scratch, and always ask for feedback to improve more. So you've just learned the core foundations of the web, how websites are structured, styled, and made interactive using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And the best part, you didn't just learn the theory, you actually built something real. I just want you to remember, HTML equals the bones of the web, CSS is the beauty and layout, and JavaScript is the brains and interactivity. These 3 languages power almost every website you visit.